Hey, what is up, movers? This is Coach Hal with you here today, and we're going to go through my current 30-minute daily recode. Going to consist of some groundwork. We're going to elevate ourselves up and do some standing work. I would say this is anywhere between a beginner and intermediate type of recode. However, this is going to be as difficult as you can make it for yourself. So all these movements that we are doing come with a lot of intention and focus in the back side of our body, focusing on glutes, hamstrings, lower back, lateral calves, focusing on pressurizing that outside of the foot, making sure that we are having high quality movement at all times. That's what can make or break this recode today. And I'm gonna be here doing it with you, giving you some cues and trying to make it as easy and as high quality for you as possible. So let's just go ahead and jump into it. We're gonna start with our rockers, and I would advise you to go ahead and do what you feel is best, whether those rockers are on the ground, assisted on some type of object that you have, knee or hip high level, maybe even a wall. Whatever it is that you have by and that you feel like is best for you to make sure we're pressurizing our backside, getting high quality movements, getting a lot of pressure here, and not feeling any chunky stickiness in the front side. That's where we want to be. Let's get into it. We're going to start with 2 minutes of rockers, starting now. If you have a hard time feeling this pressure right away, if you're not an advanced rocker quite yet, let's go ahead and just start with our beginning position on all fours. If you have your hands on an assisted object, I would actually advise that for you if you do have a difficult time putting pressure in the backside. This is going to elevate you and get you higher up and allow gravity to push you back. And resisting gravity is going to actually, yes, be a little bit harder of a movement, but it will assist you in fine-tuning, finding that pressure and doing this exercise properly. Another item here is you can tuck your toes. Maybe you can ground the feet a little bit and really find some pressure through the feet. Make sure we are on the outside of our toes, toes going inward, heels going away. Once again, these rockers here, if you're having a hard time finding that pressure, let's drive our knees into the ground while at the same time bringing our hips and our tailbone high. We're gonna allow the hips to spread wide. At the same time, we're pulling the floor wide with our knees. So a lot of different cues or thoughts to have happen here. Allow whichever one that makes the most sense to you in lining up your body be what serves you best. So if driving those knees into the ground and bringing the hips back is what allows you to feel this backside light up, then let that be your cue. If you really feel like you need to raise your hips high and work on getting this bend in the lower back, then let that serve you. Some people may actually feel too much tension in this lower back, and you may actually need to do a slight tail tuck to make sure you're not putting too much pressure in the low back and allowing that pressure to funnelize through the hamstrings, the glutes, and hopefully you can ground your feet or lay them flat and get that lateral calf and feet working as well. So we've gone 2 minutes into our rockers, and we're gonna start warming up and feeling our hips out, going side to side now. You can bounce back side to side. You can maybe, and I'll give you a different angle here so you can see what I'm really talking about. You can bounce from side to side in these side rockers and really find a stretch in the lat and the low back. If you feel like you're feeling spacious right now and you're really just looking to find some pressure, you can go ahead and pack that hip back and let the shoulder work with it. Hip goes high to the sky. Shoulder packs back, head comes into the same side of the loading leg we're on. And you can alternate back and forth, pretending that we're walking. If you want to stay in one side for a little bit longer than the other, maybe you've sat in the car for a while, whatever activity it was that you were doing before this or the day before that may having one side of the body feeling a little bit more irritable than the other. Let's go with that. And let's just stick in these side-to-side rockers here. We got 2 minutes in these. We are currently at 1 minute and 10. We've got 50 more seconds, so make them count. And let's remember that we're not isolated to any linear patterns, you can rotate and work with the entire 180-degree place behind our backside, as long as we are not coming forward here. As long as we stay 90 degrees and further back, we are a-okay playing here, remembering to keep that slight curve in the low back, not extending the hips, keeping them pushed back, keeping that pressure loaded into the backside. We've got 10 more seconds here in our side to side, and I want you to pick either your left or your right side to start getting into and focusing on a single side rocker. So we're gonna get into my right side in 3, 2, 1. And I'm gonna just start working, unloading this hip solely. And if you want to turn this up a bit, I'm gonna ask you to elevate the other leg that is not working. However, when you elevate this leg that is not working, I want you to feel the glute and the low back, the backside of the leg lifting off the ground. I want you to feel that lifting the leg rather than using a quad and a hip flexor. And I've got some quick pulsating movements going on right now. I feel pretty good. I feel really loaded. But if you're not feeling good right now and you're really looking to find some space and maybe pressurize a little bit more, let's really slow it down and come into these micro movements where we can start playing with maybe hands in different positions, packing the shoulder back. As I come back into my right hip, I'm gonna allow this chin to follow my shoulder coming down, but keeping my right ear high into the crown of my head, packing my shoulder back, getting a good stretch in the trap in the neck area, while still having a lot of pressure coming back into this right leg. And we're gonna evolve this movement in another 30 seconds to either a pigeon or half crawl out variation. So we're really spending a lot of time and putting in a lot of work into this one side before we switch over to our left side. And then we're gonna do a similar sequence standing. So at this time, if you wanna stay elevated, let's stay elevated. If you wanna be on the floor, stay on the floor. And let's go ahead and I'm on my right side, so I'm gonna take my feet, I'm gonna shift them to the left from 6 o'clock to 7 o'clock, maybe even 8. I'm gonna take my back left leg, elevate it over the back side. I'm gonna double check that I have pressure in my right side right now by lifting my leg up and down. If I set my leg on the floor, I should be able to lift it again without any type of jutting forward or having to come back to lift myself. This is how I know for sure I am loaded in my backside with the control that I have of the adjacent leg that's not working. And also, we're burning right now. This right hip is doing a lot of work. I'm gonna scoot back and give myself some space. I'd really like to get into a half crawl out variation at this time. I'm gonna allow my left hand to come to the front, middle side, so I can balance myself well here. And I'm gonna take my right hand and cut my pectoral or have it at my low rib. This really helps me pack my elbow and my right shoulder back into this right hip. My right hip is going high towards the sky, while my right knee drives down and out through the ground, allowing me to pressurize this backside, come back and load this hip, loading and packing the shoulder back, and allowing the head to funnel into the column. And as I come forward, I can have this leg back behind, or I can allow it to come on the other side, and we are going to trace forward as if we were going and moving forward through space. So if I can give you a better angle here, you can see this knee is tracing, let's get my hand out of the way for you. This knee is tracing up my side and coming through, ready to come from in to out. We don't want to get into this fire hydrant. We want this leg tracing up. The non-working leg is tracing up the working leg. Packing back, tracing forward, Call this could be your half crawl out or pigeon with tracer. It really just depends on how much variation you can hold right now and what works best for your body. We're gonna switch into the other leg, and we're gonna just go back to the side-to-side rocker on the left side. So if you need to, reset, find your structure, get to the left side, start rocking. The right side should be burning and turned on pretty hot right now. If you need to turn that down, go ahead and you can rest your leg here or try and find some type of variation to allow that right side to relax as we start heating up the left. Maybe you want to raise your toes up, tuck them toes, or go flat into the ground. Or if you're really feeling good here and you want to keep the work going, you can elevate this foot and get into these single side rockers with an elevated foot. I'm feeling pretty good right now. I'm just going to go ahead and maybe get to the floor, allow for a little bit different variation into this rocker than I had done on my right. My left side does feel a little bit different. So I'm going to play around and see what I can do to get as much pressure and as much space into this left side that I can. So when we go into our pigeon and crawl out, I can do the best work available to me at this time. We've got 15 more seconds here. If you need to get yourself adjusted or find some room to get into your pigeon, let's go ahead and start working on that now. I'm going to take my feet and I'm going to take them from 6 o'clock to 5 o'clock. I'm going to elevate my right leg up and over. I'm going to keep my left hip rising high to the sky. I'm going to allow my left hand to come back and pack the shoulder back. And I'm going to continue to load here. And I'm just going to do some small micro movements in this pigeon and really feel this good burn that I have going. I'm in a great spot and feel good. I don't feel a need to change much right now. If you do feel like you need to readjust, you can come back to center. Make sure that you are loaded in that left side by elevating the back leg. If you need to adjust a little to the right, you can do so. If you need to adjust a little to the left, you can do so. I want you playing in the space that challenges you the most with high quality work, feeling the pressure in the backside, the low back, hamstrings and glutes. And once you get that, if you can start incorporating this movement, go within the range of motion that you have available to you currently. We've got another 30 seconds here. Let's keep going. If you're in your pigeon, you can do a tracer variation here, half crawl out. Let's get ready to get into our standing work. For your standing work, if you need assistance, once again, let's go ahead and find that. I have a staircase, I have a wall, and I also have a hockey stick. You can use a broomstick, any form of assistance that you may need. Let's go ahead and use it. For our standing work, we're going to start out with some hinges. And for our hinges or our access squats, if you don't need assistance, let's go ahead and take our hands, cup our rib cage and or our pectorals wherever our shoulders feel sound. Take the elbows back, and let's make sure we have a nice C curvature of the back. We do not want our chest rounding or folding forward as we're doing these next standing movements. So let's get into our access hinge. We're going to go ahead and start in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Feet are together. Pressure is on the outside blades of the feet, and the hips are coming back and forward. We're coming back and high, hips tailbone to the sky, allowing the femurs to come back and slightly rotate in. The amount that your femurs rotate in will be dictated by the amount of space that you currently have in your hips. So if internal rotation is something that you lack, and that a lot of people lack, this is going to be a very good exercise for you to play around with how much space you have in this area of your hips. And let's recognize the space that we do have and own, and let's not push much further than that. We don't want to be going so far and forcing this internal rotation of the femur coming back into these hinges that we are irritating and causing problems in our front side. We want to not serve the exercise and do this movement for the sake of doing the movement, but we want to do the movement to serve for the purpose that we are looking for out of this exercise, such as strength and length and being able to move without pain. We've got another 30 seconds here, and just realize the more pressure you funnel to the outside of the feet, the more you can really turn on the backside, so we're not just letting our feet stand dead into the ground, but we have active feet, active backside. And if this has been tough for you here, recognize that you are allowed to just do an iso hold, and you can just push back, 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 up and back, up and back, and hold this iso hold. And maybe that's what your body needs and wants at this time. If that's the case, let's go ahead and start working into our access squat for the next 2 minutes now. And the same thing, if this access squat is too much for you to be moving, or we're really cooked and low back's hurting, we can sit in an iso hold, and or once again, if this low back is very much so turned on, we can work on a slight tail tuck where I still have curvature in my low back, but I'm not doing so excessively that I'm compressing my low back. When my low back is engaged, and I also want my hamstrings and my glutes all working, and with those active feet, we have a lot of lateral calf going off, maybe the arches and the balls of your feet can be very much so turned on and ignited right now. We've been doing quite a bit amount of work right here, and we've still got another minute. If you want to keep these access squats going, keep that butt back, 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 and allow the femurs to now rotate open. So knees may open, but we are driving hips wide and back, keeping the tailbone high, looking for space in the backside. And remember, once again, if you need a slight tail tuck, we're not actually extending our hips forward, but just enough to make sure we have low back and glutes and hamstrings working. Another 30 seconds here until we're going to incorporate both of these moves together. We're going to do some squinges, so that's going to be a hinge into a squat. And you can do this if you have full range of motion coming all the way down into a full squat, or you can just stick in the range of motion that you currently have available to you. So with the squinge, we're going to bring our hips back, back and up. Femurs go in, knees rotate in. And I always like to give my quads a check here. I'm making sure that I am absolutely using my backside to come into this. And I know because my front side is very quiet. Nothing's turned on or irritated here. From the squinge with hips back and up, I'm going to continue keeping them back, and then I'm going to go allow them to open up and come wide. We can come down into our access squat, and then we're going to drive those feet wide. Tailbone goes high and back, and we are back into our squinge. This can cause a lot of irritation in the front side if you don't have access to getting all the way down on the floor here in your deep squat. So if you do not have access to this, let's not push it and overdo what we're not capable of and cause problems in our body. Instead, I would like you to grab your support, get into your hinge, as deep as you can. And from this hinge, keep driving the butt back. Allow the knees to open, allow the hips to open, and then we can come down low. Let's come down where you feel comfortable, and let's continue to drive the hips back and high into our hinge. And if you need your support closer to you, further from you, do what you can to keep all the pressure in the backside, and notice that the rotation of the femurs is always coming from the hips, not from the feet and not from the knees. We've got 10 more seconds here of these squinges, and now we're going to go into some drop-ins, so some single leg work. Once again, if you need support, go ahead and use that. I'm going to go ahead and hold onto my staircase here, and let's just go ahead and get into it right away. So we're going to drop back with our left foot. I'm going to start on my right side, and I'm going to bring my hip high and back. Allow this leg to open, keeping my feet straight, keeping my right foot straight, while my back foot, you can see, is playing in its corner in this internally rotated position, as if I'm just loaded and released off the left leg and now landing and loading into the right. So we're practicing on landing onto this right leg and what it's like to absorb and receive the ground coming in through impact on this landing leg. And as you can see here, I'm practicing this motion of my spinal column, bending in and loading with this right side by packing the shoulder back, packing the scapula down and bringing the elbow back with my hip. And this assistance from my spine is actually allowing me to get this hip back deeper where I need it to be. And you can see once again, kind of the theme of my day are these quick micro movements. And I just feel good and powerful and strong right here, but sometimes I find a lot more powerful. I feel much more loaded by coming back as deep as I can, hanging out for a second and pulling through slowly. You can just stay slow and steady through the whole drop in. It's really up to you with what feels best, but making sure that we are loading the backside, feeling this low back QL area, all glute area and hamstrings, holding us tall and working and loading this pressure in. We're going into a crawl out variation now on this right side. So instead of keeping this left foot planted, we're now going to allow it to come up and through and get ready to reset. So we're resetting, bringing this leg through as if I'm about to now land into my left column. You can notice that my right foot, I have my heel elevated. I'm almost going into a calf raise as I fully rotate through to my left column. I'm keeping my hips and my butt up and back, continuing to use my glutes and my hamstrings to rotate around into a corner, and using this left side to drag and pull through and eventually come over and get ready to land. Using my spine, getting a lot of good movements in my spine here to help aid everything going on in the hip area. Keeping my head and my columns as well. You can see my legs shaking here. I'm getting in a lot of good work. This is not easy. If you need to tone it down, you can rest the leg on the floor, come back to a drop-in, do what you can. If you want to keep the burn going, let's keep the intensity up. You can even come into a harder calf raise here, as long as we make sure we're not extending those hips forward And we're keeping the pressure in the backside. We've got 20 more seconds here. We're gonna keep this going and really feel the pinch on the left side as you come through as well. Yeah, we are loading and working our right leg, but feel the difference that it makes and how much pressure you can still hold in that right side as you come over into this left side bend and get ready to set into that left leg. That's where I really feel everything get turned up another notch. And let's go into our left drop in now. We've got 4 more minutes of work here. Should be very cooked out on that right side feeling much different than this left side. So let's do what we can to regain composure. Find this left drop in. Play with the adjustments of the back foot. Maybe you need to come closer and stand taller. Maybe you want to exaggerate this, give yourself some more space. I like to come in real close to start with. And then if I wanted to exaggerate my movements a little bit more, I can certainly do that. This left hip for me, a lot of traveling this week, lots of sitting down in the car, feeling a little bit tighter than usual. So I'm really gonna pack this hip back and get it back and high as I can and come through forward. So my main focus on this left hip is really just refining and regaining some space that I know is there and available to me. I just gotta push into it and work a little bit harder right now. And that's what I mean by intention and focus in this workout and in this Recode today, is what can you do when you're moving? How can you listen to your body and make adjustments on the fly to let this exercise serve you and be worth your while, rather than just going through the motions, finishing your exercise and saying, oh, hey, here's where I'm feeling a little funky. Maybe let's spend another half an hour of mobility work and stretching to make this area feel better, when in fact, that could have been our main focus through the whole duration of our exercise. We've hit our 2-minute mark on those drop-ins, so let's get into some crawl outs, packing that left side, bringing the right side through and packing the right. Using assistance where need be. If you really like the feel of packing the shoulder back, maybe you just have one hand on support. You can keep 2 hands on support. I'm gonna use 2 hands today. I'm feeling pretty burnt out. This is a great, great exercise for me today. This whole Recode ground standing has really helped my body come to terms with the way it wants to move from this out to in fashion. And the more I feed my body this pattern, the better and stronger I'm feeling. All the way from just rockers into those single side rockers and into this standing half crawl out, I've really pieced together the movement pattern of walking and running, and at the same time getting this full body workout. It's tough to get with other workout modalities, and I would imagine you're feeling the burn like me right now. So let's just keep pushing through. We've got 20 more seconds. Let's really make it count. Heels elevated. We're in that calf raise. Butt staying back. We're done in 3, 2, 1. That is excellent work. Feeling good. At this time, I would highly advise some type of traveling work, whether that be crawling, walking, running. It's very, very powerful to get into traveling work after doing a Recode like this. Just like I was saying, we're getting ourselves set up for this out to in movement pattern, loading each hip, letting it release, come to the next side to load the next one. Done a lot of good strong work here. Pause this video, do your travel work, And if you want, you can come back and join me for some lying decompression. And I'm going to do about 5 minutes of this on the wall right here for you right now. If you have a wall, you can use that. If you have a couch, a bench, whatever you think you need and suits you best is what I advise you to use. So I'm going to lay supine on my back. I'm going to get my feet up on the wall, and I want the outer blades of my feet in contact. I'm going to allow my hands to drop to the side. They can be slightly bent, they don't have to be fully extended out. And any height above your head and or below your head, at or below your head, is where I'd advise you to keep your shoulders. And the idea is just to let them drop into the floor. We're letting gravity drop our bones back into the floor. Our feet are slightly active on the wall, playing on the outside edge of the feet and not allowing pressure to funnel into the middle. My feet are straight forward, toes are up, knees are in line, and hips are also in line. And we're just going to get into some deep breathing, in through the nose, out through the mouth if you would like. Breathing in, filling up the low belly, allowing the lower back to come off the floor. As you fill the low belly, feel the chest rise. And as we exhale, allow that front side of the body to sew up any new length or space you felt during that breath. I'd also advise you to double check on your head and its relation to the floor. You take your 2 index fingers and put them behind your head and find the 2 balls, bottom spot of the skull, and kind of pull that up to the crown, pull that towards the wall ahead of your head, and feel how your chin slightly tucks. We want to make sure our head's not up and jutting forward like this, but we're straightening out that cervical spine. Keep breathing deep through the low belly. Feel the chest rise, feel the shoulder blades expand. And as we exhale, feel the front side sew that down. If you want to stay active in your feet, we're funneling pressure through the outsides of the feet. But if you're feeling work, like you've done enough work and built enough tension in your body today, let's just go ahead and make sure our feet are just not collapsing to the inside, and they can passively rest on the wall or the couch surface that you've chosen for today. And let's keep a very nice, subtle, deep, and slow breathing tempo going, allowing that exhale to be even 2 times as long as the inhale. Feel your body melt into the ground as you exhale. And yes, we are sewing up that front side, but we do not want to create too much tension in the body at this time. We are down-regulating our system right now. We are allowing any unnecessary tension that is built up to relax and release, allowing our bones to fall to the back side of our body. And on that inhale, if you have a tight spot anywhere in the hips and the low back, shoulders or neck, I want you to try and fill that space with your breath as you inhale. And then remember to exhale with control and length, feeling the tailbone move away from the crown of the head, and maybe adjusting the head and the chin one more time, making sure there is a slight chin tuck and that the cervical spine is straight and not jutting out and up like such. If you feel like you need to make micro adjustments here, wiggling the tailbone, double checking spots in the hips, checking out to see where the feet are in relation to the wall, making sure everything is straight, in line, stacked. Maybe we need to wiggle our shoulders. Anything you need to do to make yourself feel good is a-okay. This does not have to be a stiff, rigid position. We are looking to create and own new space in the body with controlled breath work and focus and intention in everything that we do. If you want to stay here because this feels good or because you think you need it, by all means, please hang out here for as long as you would like. I always advise this decompression early in the morning, late before you go to bed, whatever it may be, whenever you choose to do it. That's an awesome item to utilize, an awesome place to be to heal your body, and it's especially powerful after we move and after you've traveled. So I want to thank you for joining me today, putting in that hard work and making yourself better at 1% every day. You did great work. I hope to see you next time.